Peter, I have to tell you, I love the name of your restaurant, the Back 40.
Oh, thank you. You know, even though we're in New York City, we wanted to reference for people to think about where their food comes from, that matters to us and should matter to them as well.
It's huge. Great name, and it's perfect for our Harvest Festival, our Tale of Two Farms. A great fit.
Right.
Now, I really appreciate you taking the time to focus on one of the recipes for our guests tonight and to actually create this recipe within an amount or a volume that's, you know, for the homeowner rather than 120 people, which is, I think, what we have coming tonight.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? We're working with some beans?
Well, we're going to make some red beans and give them some nice flavor, just with some very easy aromatics of carrot, celery, garlic, a little bit of fresh thyme from the garden. And, you know, they're just a great accompaniment to meat, to other roasted vegetables, things like that. So I brought some red beans down from a grower in upstate New York.
They're beautiful.
And we soaked them overnight, and so that's going to shorten the cooking time. That's part of what we like about that. And so you can just go ahead and put them in the pot.
So these started as dried beans, and sort of what I understand about, or my experience with them, is the larger the bean, the longer they need to soak, and the longer they soak, the faster they cook, I guess.
Sure. You know, the other thing is that sometimes beans are old, and we know that we're getting fresh beans from, I mean, they're still dry, but they're from this year's harvest.
Right, right.
And so when beans are over dried, sometimes you'll have the experience that they'll never really rehydrate, and that's not, so they're kind of bad beans. They've been around for too long.
Sure.
So you want to be buying your beans from a place that they're moving product.
Yep, there you go. Now, any bean would work for this recipe, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's very simple preparation. You could do it with pinto beans. These are red beans. One of the heirloom beans that I like a lot that comes from up in Maine is called the Jacob's cattle bean.
Oh, I've never tried that.
I was hoping to bring it down for you, but
I may want to try to grow some of those this next year in the garden.
They're great.
Well, beans are one of those universal foods. I mean, in all cultures, you see them being used in some way. So I see you're just dropping the...
I'm just going to put the mirepoix, or, you know, that's French for aromatic mixed vegetables in there.
Yep.
And we'll need to add a little bit more water.
Okay, so Peter, I'm going to just turn it on medium heat. How long do you think we need to let this cook?
Well, you're going to bring it up to a boil, and then you want to simmer them. You want to cook them nice and slow.
Right.
It might take up to an hour. What I like best is, in all my cooking, is that we're tasting all the way along. So taste them. The beans want to soften up. You don't want them mushy.
Yeah, I don't like mushy beans.
Right.
At all.
No, it falls apart and it just turns into sludge.
Yeah.
Here, what we're going for is a bean dish, and so that you know that there's still a little bit of toothsomeness there. I'm also going to put in a little bit of thyme. You know, in a French restaurant, they might actually tie a string around it or strip it out. But I'm happy letting the leaves fall off the branch, and then we'll yank out the branch when they're done later.
And I like the water level. What I like to do is at least let everything get covered in water. So we've got the mirepoix, we've got the thyme, everything's covered in water, and we're ready to go.
Right. And there's one more thing. It's just like beans also want a little bit of fat in them, and there's, you know, so many different choices of fats. I'm really going to stay more in the Italian Mediterranean mode and add olive oil. And so again, you get nice slip in the mouth. From adding the olive oil.
I like that, slip in the mouth.
Yeah.
So what do you think, about a quarter of a cup there?
Yeah, something like that. And all of these measurements, they're not exact. You don't need a cookbook for it.
That's just the way I cook as well.
And we'll taste it. We'll see how it's coming along.
Yeah.